Hello and welcome to Kismet Mystic. I'm your host, Jackie Abramov, and I'm so glad you're here. Um, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and I usually focus on the Pisces house system. That's what I work with my clients. But if I'm going to be doing anything for the collective, then I'm going to be talking from more of a whole sign house system because that's the only way you can speak to a collective. But today I'm not going to do individual charts. I'm going to be talking specifically about Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And these are really interesting transits for me. I love working with transits. Once you begin to understand astrology and how astrology works and what it's showing us and what it's representing, then you get really excited about understanding what's happening in the transits. Now, we have Saturn going retrograde, well, yesterday, June the 29th, and then Neptune retrograde on July 2nd. And they're going to be retrograde for many months. Saturn is going to go retrograde from the 19th degree all the way back to the 12th degree. So if you know your chart, you can check and see if you have any planets or points within those degrees, because if you do, that's going to be impacting you more directly. And then Neptune is going to go from 29 degrees back to 27 degrees. So again, if you have planets or points, and I know a lot of people that have planets or points in the 29 to 27 degree range of Neptune. So if you do, then know that this is a more significant transit for you. Now, the reason I think transits are so fascinating is because when you learn about them, you connect with what's actually happening in your life in a deeper way. The point of transits, to me, is to make more conscious the things that are unconscious inside of us. So you can become more aware of what is actually happening inside of you and outside of you. So most people, when they're talking astrology, they speak from this idea that the planets have influence over us, that the planets are making us do things. That's how most astrologers are approaching astrology. I personally do not approach astrology that way. I believe that astrology is a reflection of us. It's a reflection of what is happening inside of us. So we are made up of all of these different parts. The planets, the signs, the houses, they show us all these different parts of us, and they show us how we work with the archetypes of what they represent. So they're not forcing us to do things. They're showing us where our soul is ready or what our soul is working through at this period of time. And personally, I find that to be amazing. And it reminds me of the quote, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. And that's by Hermes Trismegistus. And that basically is just what I said, is that everything outside of us is a reflection of what is happening on the inside of us. So there's nothing that's forcing something, forcing a hand. And the other interesting part of that is that astrology shows us that everything works on an axis. Everything is polarity and duality, meaning that there's many options. It's never just one thing. But when you understand the archetypes and how to work with the energy, they speak to, they give a language and words to our deepest soul self and to our unconscious and to what we're learning and to what we're working through in our lives, to what challenges we're facing. And when you see this connection that we have to the universe, it just completely makes life so much more exciting, because it's like, wow, like we're in this together. Like we're all working through these things in different ways, but we're working through them together. And to me, that's really beautiful. So Saturn is a planet that represents this part of us that is seeking authority, this part of us that has boundaries or doesn't have boundaries. It's this part of us that is longing for form, and it's determined, and it's, you know, wanting to focus and be clear about things. And it's this part of us that has this desire to build something concrete in the world. So Saturn represents both inwardly and outwardly authority, rules, standards, ways of being that feel safe. Saturn is a planet that just deals with how we feel safe in the world. And usually how we feel safe in the world is if we have some kind of form around us, if we know what the rules are, if we know what we're supposed to do, if we know how to act, right? Those are the kind of Saturn themes. But like I said, Saturn represents both the things that are outside of us and the things that are inside of us. So our inner Saturn is longing for authority, for personal authority. And that is what Saturn teaches us in our chart. Now, Saturn moves through a sign in approximately 3 years. So within the time that Saturn moves through a sign, we are invited to bring this sense of, wow, I'm going to, take on this new area of life. I'm going to become responsible here in a new way, right? We are always working in layers. So there is no, we've reached some perfection in life. Every year, every cycle is a new opportunity for us to work through another layer of what taking ownership and having sovereignty means for us, in this area of our life. And Saturn's been moving through Pisces since March of 2023. So if you want to look at where Pisces is in your chart, you'll see what house or houses it rules. And it's going to be completing this cycle in February of 2026. Well, we also have Neptune that is going retrograde. It's going to go retrograde from July the 2nd all the way through till November. And Neptune's actually been in Pisces way longer. Neptune stays in a sign for about 14 years, and it's been in Pisces since 2011. So Neptune, it shows us a longer range of things that we're needing to work through. Saturn's a 3-year range of something, and then Neptune, this 14-year range. And Neptune is this planet that is difficult to get our hands on, so to speak, right? Neptune is the planet of the deepest unconscious self. It is the longing that we have for a connection to the universe. For our souls to feel like they matter, like everything is connected, to feel this wholeness, this sense of inner bliss. It's this part of us that seeks fulfillment on a level that is hard to articulate. And every planet has its conscious and its unconscious energies. The more unconscious part of Neptune is going to be that part of us that seeks all of those things that I just said, but seeks them through fantasies and illusions. So wherever Neptune is in our charts and wherever Neptune is in the transits, it's showing us where we're going to be facing the unconscious and the ways that we have sought to escape life. Now, Neptune rules Pisces, so when Neptune's in Pisces, we have double of that energy. And it's so significant that since 2011, we have seen such an increase in social media and in movies and binging and, just completely binging out and zoning out on TV and movies and gaming, and all of that has just taken a huge uptick in our culture. And that's very symbolic of Neptune in Pisces, because what we're looking for through all of those things is we're looking for this inner bliss state. We're looking for our imagination and our creativity and our connection to like how amazing life is. We're looking for that through these other sources. So Saturn and Neptune being a retrograde, being in Pisces at the same time is significant. And right now with them going into retrograde, we've been kind of laying the tracks down for something over the last few months. And this retrograde period is a time where we're kind of gathering ourselves, maybe reworking some things, maybe confirming like, yes, that happened. This is what I learned from it. This is what I saw. Now I need to implement the things that I noticed over the last, 3 to 6 months. This also could be like, Saturn represents this like cleanup energy. So this could be like, oh, you're feeling like you're ready to clean up another area of your life. You've been getting clarity in this area, and now you're ready to make, more decisions. So wherever Saturn is, we're also going to be experiencing tests. Now, tests are typically not things that we like. We don't like tests because we went to school and we got tested in things that we honestly just didn't care about, and that we probably felt were a waste of our time. And then we were judged on them, and we were judged probably harshly. I know I was. And so we have this not great feeling about the word test. We don't like it. But I want to try to reframe that for you, because when Saturn tests are these tests that are about what we really are here to learn, right? Saturn is the planet that represents the things we came here to learn. So if we're going to learn, we have to be tested to see, did we learn? Did we learn the lesson? Did we learn what we needed to learn? And if you think about it like that, like learning is actually really fun. And when we feel like we learned something, we feel good about ourselves, we feel accomplished, especially when it comes to our own life and what we want to be learning in life. So these could be big tests, these could be little tests. You could have a variety of different things happening. And that will also depend on like the kind of planets or points that you have within that 19 to 12 degree range. So the tests are coming to us to ask us, are you ready for this thing that you say you're ready for, right? Are you going to do this thing that you know you want to do? Are you ready to say no to what you've known you need to say no to? The tests come as an opportunity for us to show ourselves that we know what we want now. We're ready to take ownership. We're ready to take this next step. So try to look at tests as an opportunity to know yourself more, right? This is what I believe life is about, is getting to know ourselves. So this is a beautiful time for reflection and connecting, and specifically connecting to the unconscious, because we are dealing with Pisces, and wherever Pisces is, this is our deepest unconscious self. And wherever Neptune is, we're dealing with the deepest unconscious self. So like I was saying, Saturn moving behind Neptune, or coming up behind Neptune at this specific time, is significant, because we have both of those planets finishing their transit in Pisces right around the same time. That's really showing us that this is a powerful time to complete something that we've been working through probably since 2011, and probably in many different ways. So, Saturn being this opportunity, this inner part of us that wants to take up our sense of power and sovereignty, and ownership of our lives in a new way. It's this part of us that says, this is what I want to do with my time. Saturn represents our time. How are we spending our time? Are we spending our time doing the things that are authentic to us? Or are we spending our time giving our power and energy to things that we don't care about? So wherever Saturn is moving through the chart, or where it's located in your chart, you can know that, that's a significant place for you to gain self-responsibility. Again, that can be a little daunting, but if you look at it in the sense that like, and this is your one and precious life, this is your opportunity to become a conscious creator, and Saturn's going to get you there. Saturn is the planet that will take you where you need to go. Now, Neptune is the planet that gives us the dreams, that inspires us, that connects us to that deep purpose. And with Neptune having moved through Pisces since 2011, this is going to reveal a long-term thing that we've been working through, or like I said, many different things that we have been dealing with, but they're all somehow going to be related to our unconscious. And they're probably also going to be related to the way that we have sought peace, happiness and success outside of ourselves. So, because Neptune relates to illusions and the unconscious, we're often seeking all of those things that are going to give us that inner fulfillment through the material world. And that's why, it tends to be the planet that represents addictions, because we are trying to feel something. We're trying to feel good, right? Neptune and Pisces, this is water. This is deep feeling energy. And so a really good, a couple examples of what this might have looked like in your life is that, you could have entered into a career and it looked like it was going to be everything you wanted, and it maybe even brought you some success and happiness. But after a period of time, you realize that, it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. It was exhausting you. It was taking your creativity away, right? It could be Neptune and Pisces could have been times where you found a partner and you felt like magic and felt like it was going to last forever, and then it completely dissolved and you realized that this person wasn't who you thought they were, and you had to lose the relationship. It could be that everything in your life just seemed like it was going so well and everything seemed perfect, and then suddenly you started to have this like inner sinking feeling and you felt sick, and then you started to get some like disease or pain, and all of those are signs of us being caught in an unconscious illusion, right? When we are allured into a partnership or a job or a way of being, and then we start to realize this isn't what I thought it was, we wake up to the illusion. Now, the thing is, this is a sticky thing to talk about. But when you're waking up to an illusion, your tendency with Neptune or Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces, is going to be to project that out. Well, that's because they were liars, they were bad, the boss wasn't good, it was, my ex, it was this. We project the experience outside of us and make something outside of us bad, wherein actually what is Neptune is wanting, what Pisces is wanting us to see, is that we were caught up in an illusion. We didn't see the signs. We were looking for, trying to get something outside of us and make it the thing that was going to make us feel better. And so, this is a tender thing to deal with. Neptune and Pisces is a tender energy. And this could be a time where, you experienced a great deal of loss. These realizations are meant to show us what we have, tried to gloss over, where we've looked for something outside of us to save us, to be the thing that affirms us. We're actually wanting this peace and this love and this wholeness with Neptune and Pisces. We're wanting that, but we're wanting it within ourselves. We're wanting it to come from our connection to source, to the universe, to God, to spirit, to something that is the whole, that connects us to the whole. And the thing is, the only way to get that, to actually get that, is to know your unconscious self, to know your shadow, and to have a connection to the whole. And so that can look like very different things, but it definitely relates to the unconscious and knowing yourself, knowing the full self, because with Neptune and Pisces, our tendency is going to be to suppress all of our shadow self, push all the things. Oh, we entered this relationship, we thought we were being so loving and so compassionate, but really we were actually trying to get something from that partner and they didn't have it. And so we woke up to the illusion that like, actually we were doing that. We had this job and it didn't work out. Because we were looking for that job to be the thing that was going to make us feel better, and nothing outside of us actually ever makes us feel better. So that's what, our inner Neptune and Pisces is saying. come within. You need to come away. You need to come away from all the distractions and find that inner connection. So this has been a profound time of escapism, right? You know, when we look for that feeling of connection and wholeness, we end up finding ourselves in addictions. Now, most people shame people who have been in addiction. I would never do that because every person is in an addiction of some sort. You can be in an addiction to Netflix. You can be in an addiction to eating out. You can be in addiction to food, to some other substance, right? To shopping. You can be addicted to love or money or work, right? Addiction is addiction. Addiction is escapism. And so when we're dealing with Neptune and the unconscious, it's like, oh, we are wanting ourselves to understand that we're trying to get something from the illusion outside of us, thinking that that's going to be the thing that fulfills us. I know I've said that multiple times, but it's really, really important to connect with the idea that we're looking for something that is an illusion. Now, you know, movies and media are a perfect example of this. You know, we watch something and we think that it's real. It feels real. Our emotions get connected. We invest ourselves in it, right? And this is the perfect example of an illusion. And yet every illusion has an element of it that is real. And that's why illusion is so difficult to work with. That's why the unconscious is difficult to work with, right? The element of movies and media that are real is real people are there. They're real actors. They've really created a story. They're really acting it out on TV. We can see it. But there's an element of it that is not real at all. And that, like I said, is a very slippery little fish. I like that saying, because it's hard to grasp. And so is the unconscious. So the work that we're being invited into, that our soul is calling us into, is this slippery little fish. It is something that you have to contemplate. And with Saturn moving through Pisces during this time, we have another year and a half with Saturn in Pisces. This is an amazing time to be doing this inner work and to becoming aware. And it's no surprise that during this time would be the time that I am feeling called to share these things, because they're so profound in how to work with the unconscious and to bring these things out so that we're no longer trapped within our own illusions. So for you, for your life, you know, notice, where have you been caught up in these illusions? You know, often we don't want to see the signs, but Saturn's coming through and is saying, yeah, but you do want to see them. You want to have power over your life. You don't want to keep living in the same pattern and cycle, and you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, because it's the definition of insanity, right? We all know that. But Saturn is coming through, and it's our soul saying, you can do something different. You can face the unconscious. It's not as scary as you think it is. It's actually where liberation and freedom is. So Saturn working with Neptune and working behind Neptune is like, okay, you've had all these experiences where you've given your power away, you've been caught in the illusion, and now things are becoming clear. You have the opportunity to see where you've done this. Of course, there's always the potential for the opposite, which is that you could be giving more and more of your power away. You could be continuing to cling to things outside of yourself. You could be continuing to project everything that's within you out into the world around you. That is the option that we all have when we're dealing with Saturn. We have our unconscious Saturn, we have our conscious Saturn. So anyone who is still in unconscious Saturn, which we all are to some degree, we're all working with some element of unconsciousness. When we work with Saturn transits, they're unraveling us to see more of ourselves. So this is a time to be asking yourself, you know, where have I given my power away? Where have I, where am I wanting now? When am I ready now to be sovereign over something that I previously wasn't sovereign over? So it takes some humility. Working with Saturn takes humility. Working with Neptune takes humility. Working with the unconscious, of course, takes humility. So as I briefly mentioned this earlier, but with Neptune in Pisces and over these last 13 or 14 years, you could have experienced a lot of loss and grief and sadness. Things didn't work out the way you thought they were going to. You lost something precious, someone precious to you. You could have, just woken up and realized life isn't what you thought. And that can be really hard, especially when the majority of the world is living in the illusion and in the unconscious. No judgment for this. This is just part of being in this universe. The unconscious and the illusion is everywhere. And so when you see everyone else living it and looking like they're having the time of their lives, and you're wondering why your life doesn't look like that, that's because you're waking up to the illusion. And when you do begin to wake up to the illusion, you do go through grief and you do go through loss. And this is the time to learn how to release those feelings and emotions, because before you have wanted to suppress them, you've wanted to escape from them, right? That's what Neptune in Pisces is always seeking to do, is to run away from the things that are hard and to only do the things that look like they're going to make you feel good. So a lot of love to everyone who has been dealing with the grief and the loss, but also know that this is a part of it, because we have to release the illusion, that something is ever lost, because actually nothing's ever lost. Because energy is never lost or destroyed, right? It changes form. And so even though we've gone through a difficulty or trauma, a loss of some sort, we can know that there's a part of that is never changing. And so that's complex. There's a lot of things I could say about that. But if you're interested in dealing more with those kinds of things, I offer one-to-one sessions, because the unconscious and these things are very, very tender to work with. So no need to go any further in that for now. Neptune is also this part of us that is seeking to dissolve the illusions and the fantasies. When we dissolve illusions and fantasies, we give ourselves the capacity to create from consciousness, which is so much more powerful, because then we're not worried about what other people think about what we're doing. We're able to completely live from this authentic space. And we're not caught in the illusion of what other people think or what other people don't think. There's a power there. And so Saturn and Neptune working together in Pisces is just giving us so much capacity to release and dissolve and let go of those old illusionary ways of being. Now, Saturn is our greatest lessons, and it is about what we're learning. So wherever Saturn is, again, there's lessons to be learned. And the way we learn lessons is through contemplation. Saturn is a planet that also represents a time of solitude. Not all the time, but it's that part of us that wants to go for a walk by ourselves and think about what we're thinking about. It's that part of us that wants to mull something over, that wants to understand, that wants to, spend our time actually doing what we want with our lives. So this is a profound time to be thinking consciously and to be journaling and to be giving yourself that space to do this inner work. Now, whenever, Saturn moves through an area of our life, Saturn is about what's hard for us. So do not forget that lessons, tests are hard. They're not meant to be easy. So if you're facing something that's difficult during this time, know that this is what's supposed to be happening. And know that it's your soul saying, yeah, I'm ready. Finally, I'm ready to do this thing that I previously couldn't do. Before, I was looking for a relationship to fulfill me. I was looking for this job to be the thing that would give me security. But now I'm going to say, no, the job is not going to give me security. That job's actually sucking the life out of me. And I'm ready to take ownership of my life in a new way. And that could unfold in many different ways. Not saying you need to quit your job, but maybe you do. So again, this is a profound time for dealing with the unconscious, and specifically because we're in Pisces. Pisces is the water energy, and Pisces is the deepest unconscious. It's also our, our karma. So it's things that we came into this life to work through that are hidden from our consciousness. And this is feelings, this is emotions. And so Saturn moving through here is going to give us this extra capacity and time to work through healing our feelings. So we're no longer running away from the discomforts. We're no longer suppressing the emotions, but we're giving ourselves an opportunity to learn how to feel. That's like such a Saturn in Pisces way of describing it, right? It's like you're actually here to learn to feel everything, not to push it away. And I work with clients one-on-one specifically to learn how to feel, because it is so damn hard. It's hard to learn to feel, especially the deep pain that we all have. We all have traumas, small t trauma or big T trauma. We all have traumas, and we have them from the time we're a child. And learning to feel those is a challenge. I know for myself, having done the work, and then I know from holding space for people, it feels overwhelming. And this is a profound time to do that work. So highly encourage you to do that if you can, if you're ready. Now, as I mentioned before, everything has the potential for the opposite. So some people during this time are going to be escaping further and further into their illusions. Saturn in Pisces for them may look like them giving their authority away even more to someone or something outside of themselves. They could be going deeper into their own illusions. They could be looking for someone or something to give them a sense of security that is very clearly an illusion, but their soul is not yet ready to work through that. And there's zero judgment for that. When people aren't ready, they're not ready. And our souls come to work through things at different periods of time. That is not for us to judge. We don't know what other people's soul contracts are. We don't know what other people's designs are and what they came here to learn and to experience. So we are only responsible for us. And this is a huge part of astrology, and it's a huge part of Saturn, because Saturn is all about, don't worry about what's happening outside of you. Worry about what's happening on the inside of you. So a really, really good example of this is the trend that has hit social media recently, which is the codependent narcissist, concepts that people are talking about. And everyone wants to call out narcissists and expose how terrible they are and like point out all these things that they do. But coming back to what I started with, which is as above, so below, as within, so without. This means that everything that we see into the world is also in us. So in every codependent person that is pointing out a narcissist, they have an inner narcissist. Every narcissist has an inner codependent, right? We don't have one without the other. So the person that is saying that they're the codependent, they're actually also the narcissist. This is so important to understand, because this is the unconscious. This is what the unconscious does. The unconscious projects everything that is within out onto the other. This is the most clear example of a Neptune in Pisces. They're the problem. They're the issue. Look at all the things they're doing bad when actually you're doing the same thing, but you're hiding it from yourself, and maybe you're even hiding it from others. When we become conscious of the way that we are both narcissistic and codependent, we no longer need to project it. We don't need to point it out in others. We don't need to make other people feel bad, because we understand that they're just working from an unconscious space, and we know how hard it is to bring unconsciousness into awareness and consciousness. It's not an easy task, and it takes humility and it takes inner work. And so once you've done that for yourself, then you're not going to be shaming anyone else for where they are on their journey, because you understand that you've been there too. And this is actually also a perfect representation of the North and South Node right now, where we have the North Node in Aries, Aries being the narcissist, South Node being in Libra, Libra being the codependent. They're on one axis. They're polarities and dualities, meaning that they're the same and they're opposite. And so that's everything in life is that way. And that's what I believe astrology is supporting us to see through the chart, through the axes, that everything is within inside of us. We are everything. Everything that's in the whole is in the one. And when we understand this, we begin to work on our own unconscious. So again, no shame for anyone that isn't working with their unconscious. This is not easy to do, and not everybody's soul came here to do it in this lifetime. So, conscious Saturn wants us to learn about the ways that we are projecting our wounds onto others, the way that we're projecting our emotions onto others, blaming other people for how we feel. So this is a time to notice all of the trends and issues that you've been encountering since 2011 in your home, in your work, with partners, with your philosophy in life, with your addictions, with your habits. This is a time for healing these emotional wounds, the unconscious emotions that you have. Now, Neptune's also this beautiful energy symbolic of our inner imagination. So if you've been doing some of this work, you may also be feeling at this time new dreams, new inspiration beginning to formulate inside of you. So Saturn is going to come behind Neptune and begin to say, yeah, you can do that thing that you've been dreaming of. Neptune bringing us more possibilities for our lives, and Saturn coming behind that Saturn part of us saying, yeah, you can do it. Like you've passed that test. You're no longer, stuck in that same pattern. You're aware now. You can take this next leap of faith. So one thing I like to do with Neptune as a energy and as an archetype is to play the what if game, because Neptune's about our imagination and our playfulness and our sense of creativity, and remembering that we are playing here. This life is a play, so to speak, and we're playing a character, we're playing a role, we're playing with life. And so I like to play the what if game, which is just asking yourself what if questions. So like a what if question could be, what if I loved myself deeply? And then journal on that. And then, what if I saw some of my shadow? And then, journal on that. Well, what might that mean? What if I felt fully liberated, right? What if I could create a life that was completely congruent inside and out? And then journal on those, play with that, use your imagination to create a new life for yourself. And this, last year and a half of the transits that we have with Saturn and Neptune is a beautiful time to be doing that as well. You can do shadow work and imaginative redreaming at the same time. Everything happens in layers. And so, there is no one step, you have to do this step and then you have to do this step. No, we're learning at different levels all the time. So beautiful time for reflection, for imagination, and doing this inner unconscious work. So if you're interested in connecting with me, if you want to do a session, I offer astrology readings, transit readings, birth chart readings, relationship readings. You can connect with me on Instagram at Inspire Authenticity, or you can connect with me on my website at kismetmystic.com. Reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to work with you. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not already, but if you want to learn more about the shadow and the unconscious and non-judgment, then I just did an episode, my last episode, which was on Cancer season and consciousness, that, was explaining and unfolding a little bit about that. And in that, I talk about how the water signs are the signs that are most reflective of our unconscious. And so this, like I said, this is a profound time to be working with these things because we have all of this water energy and Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. So that's about all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please you know how all the algorithms work. And I would love, your comments or support for this work in any way. Thank you so much. Bye for now.